Sheriff Todd Baxter, employees of the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, employees of the Monroe County District Attorney's Office. Paul C. Melcher, James County Jr., Penfield Town Court, Alex Renzi, New York State Supreme Court. My name is Chris Chichester. I'm demanding public information from you on this June 18th. I'm going to hold up the Freedom of Information Law that's dated June 17th. That's attached in PDF. You will comply with every single one, especially you, Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles, and you, Assistant District Attorney Mark Monahan. You know the names of my prosecutor's silence. I have been in jail 6 times, and 6 times the prosecutor hasn't talked in court. I will be in jail for a 7th time without a prosecutor talking in court. Because all it takes is one of you hacks and sociopaths and deviants at that revolting shack in 47 South hits you to concoct some fiction, some fantasy in your fucking head, and I'll be in jail again where you don't have to talk. How is any citizen in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? How is any citizen in the great state of New York in jail 6 times and 6 times prosecutor doesn't talk in court? It has an answer, because that's happened to me. It's because of corruption and fanaticism, extremism, malevolence. You're all those things at the Sheriff's Office and District Attorney's Office. This is the foil here. This is dated June 17th. Today is June 18th. I only have so much time as I try to get on with my life and move back to Albany, where I lived in the city for 5 years and in the county for 10 years. So today's June 18th. I wrote this on June 17th. This is attached in PDF. Every single one of these I'm going to read is also right here, including Michelle Crowley, you disgusting hack. I'm your personal ham sandwich. You don't call me to the grand jury. Answer my questions. I hope you don't, Michelle Crowley, because when you refuse to answer this first one I read about this grand jury, I'll have a case you can be disbarred. I'm reasonably confident you can be disbarred. Over and over. This is just 3 times the first one. Think about the first one, Michelle Crowley, directed the grand jury, calling me, refusing to call me to a grand jury panel. I don't know it's convenient. You pick these 18 to 24 anonymous idiots that you want to be idiots. Michael Who perjured himself. You should know what I'm talking about. You revolting sick act. And your $100,000 salary. I'll be absolutely obsessed about reducing that salary by $100,000, Michelle Crowley. Do you think when you indict me, when I don't know the grand jury's convenient, you don't interview me, you don't call me to testify before the grand jury, it just affects me? I had to tell my friends and family members about that day. Do we even know what I'm talking about? About $73,000 Michael Houlihan and $85,000 Don Benedetto hiding on the private property of my neighbor and lying and sending a swung hammer on my back porch. So this form I'm going to read has been transmitted to you on June 2nd, on June 4th, on June 6th, June 10th. Do you understand me? This is the 5th time in the month of June. Every single one I read here, it's the 5th time. And you, Julie Sianka, public defender, assistant public defender Mark Phillips, assistant public defender Regina Harper, when I get to the foil about my prosecutor's silence, you know these names. When I contact Sabrina Lamar, the Monroe County Legislature, and every member of the Monroe County Legislature, and I tell them that you, the public defender of Monroe County, refusing to tell me the names of my prosecutors, I have reasonable confidence you can be moved to the public defender. Because how is that answered? How do you defend yourself? It's one thing for these revolting hacks and sociopaths to the district attorney's office, where Sandra Doorley is elected, where they can act like hacks and sociopaths. You're appointed. No one elected you to a goddamn thing, Julie Sianka. What I don't have. Everything is gone. When I say everything is gone because of my 80-year-old landlord, Anthony Spano, I'll have nothing. So I slept in Harris Wellen Park for 3 weeks. He locked doors and locked me out. Took everything I owned to storage locker. Storage locker's been cleaned out. I couldn't pay for it. So what I don't have, because of you, Sheriff Todd Baxter and District Attorney Sandra Doorley, and my mother and father from Brooklyn. So when I would go to Cooperstown, since I lived in Albany, I'll buy a Brooklyn Dodgers hat. I remember once I went with my friends, their names are John Sigler and Peter Murphy. We were in the car, we're going there, we're talking baseball the whole time. All 3 of us Met fans. I bought a hat that day. I'm buying things I want, so I'm not holding up anything for narcissism. I don't have a box of Brooklyn Dodgers hats, including one I bought at Cooperstown, because of my 80-year-old landlord, Anthony Spano. I don't have my Brooklyn Dodgers hats because you, Sheriff Todd Baxter, you District Attorney Sandra Doorley, you Paul C. Metro James Billy Jr. in Penn Court, John Clemenza Jr. in Penn Court, and Alex Renzi in New York State Supreme Court. This is what you're doing to my life. It takes a court order to evict someone. Just because I don't have a lease, which I didn't for 7 years, doesn't give 80-year-old Antonino Spano the power to lock me out or have nothing, including my hats. I'm going to say this again. I'm going to write this complaint. It should be in your office soon, I believe, in the next 2 weeks. Where I'm going to detail and I'll send this transcript about what this 80-year-old man did with the assistance of my ex-girlfriend, who will also write a criminal complaint about. He won't be arrested, prosecuted, charged, convicted. Nothing's going to happen to this 80-year-old man, even though it takes a court order to lock us in the Senate out. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Perry Douglas, Mark Monahan, Michael Rabbit, Kathleen Mill, William Cadell, Scott O'Berry. It takes a court order. Even with a tenant that doesn't have a lease. That's what the Tenant Defense Project told me, and my own research online. So when I get to the Freedom of Information list, the payroll for the District Attorney's Office, you hacks, sociopaths, Christopher.Chichester@mail.com. That's how you can send the names of my prosecutors' silence to me via email. Christopher Chichester, 620 Park Avenue, PMB, number 361, Rochester, New York, 14604. That's my UPS box. I just told you 2 ways to send my prosecutors to silence. How is any citizen in jail 6 times when a prosecutor talk court? Corruption, fanaticism, malevolence, and you're all. So every form I'm going to read, this is Patrick's printing on April 25th. I went down there on East Main Street, 110.05 cents. So I have the 4 LC here. This is the 4th time in the month of June I'm going to transmit to you. You got it on April 26th. You've been receiving it for 18 months. I'm going to get to this here too. On January 1st, here's you, Perry Douglas. Perry Douglas, Paul Metzer, email Todd Thurston, Mark Phillips. 2 people on here, whose names I mentioned, because Paul Metzer's not going to tell me. Todd Thurston, it's the sheriff's office. You, Mark Phillips, when I copied you, and Virginia Harper's on a blind copy that can't be seen. You know this information. So you, Perry Douglas, on this January 1, bring it to corrupt boss Sandra Doorley, tells accumulation of health afflictions, to sending information my UPS address list below, includes names on prosecuted silence. 18 months prior to this, I'm sending this to you, Perry Douglas. I'm telling you again, to tell me the names of my prosecutors. Because the appellate division of state Supreme Court is where prosecutors disbarred. I know what they look like. There's my prosecutor before John Clemenza Jr., Giuliani, losing the Monroe County Jail. So, also, this is on September 26, 2022. I save all my receipts. On this day, September 26, 2022, as I communicate with you with the official finger of Brooklyn, New York, I told you in September to tell me names of prosecutors. You, Julie Sianka, you, Perry Douglas, you, Mark Monahan. I don't know if it went to you, Perry Douglas, or Mark Monahan. Something with Sandra Doorley. Alex Renzi got this too. And then he remanded me to Monroe County Jail. Yes, there you are. So Sandra Doorley. Here you are on September 26th, you disgusting sick hacker. Doesn't know if she's a Democrat or Republican. On September 26th, I'm telling you, Sandra Doorley, got the foil. Tell me names of prosecutors. On September 26th, here's your name, you bald-headed Benito Mussolini clone, Todd Baxter. I'm telling you, being violently attacked by employees like Richard J. Seaton at the Penfield Public Library, an unidentified employee at the Farmers Museum, Mr. Wegmans. And then this is Alex Renzi. I said this when I was at my temporary address. Alex Renzi got this. Alex Renzi looked at this. This $208,000 hacking fossil was about 70 years old. And when he looked at this, he's thinking, I want to send him to jail because he remanded me to Monroe County Jail after we received this. State legislature in Albany, Speaker Carl Heastie and Senate Majority Andrew Stewart Cousins need to pass legislation, and it should be signed into law by Kathy Hochul to prevent one judge from determining guilt or innocence. Because that means anywhere in the great state of New York, from Montauk Point on Long Island, which I have been to because I'm a fisherman. I used to go fishing on Montauk with my grandpa. From Montauk all the way to Buffalo, where I've been for Bills games because I went to SUNY Fredonia for 2 years, and everywhere in between. Everywhere in the state of New York, Montauk, Buffalo, Syracuse, Rochester, Albany, down to New York City, one judge can determine guilt or innocence. Does that bother you as officers of the court? At the district attorney's office? It shouldn't. It doesn't. At all. So, when I read these Freedom of Information Law documents, this is tags I get at the Goodwill. Green, blue, green. I don't have any clothes because of 80-year-old Antonino Spano and my ex-girlfriend Laura Riley, who I've known for 35 years. When I'm in at Goodwill and I get a bag to take my clothes home. I don't have any clothes. I'm thinking about you hacks and sociopaths at the sheriff's office, the district attorney's office, the whole time. When I'm buying my $4 shirt, $5 pair of shorts, and my size. So, May 27th, you got it. I'm going to refuse to comply. The 6th to 4th, the 2nd to 10th, you got it. Today's June 18th. This is dated June 17th. Tell me the answers, especially to this grand jury. Michelle Crowley, I hope you don't want this first one, because I'll repeat myself. Then I have a case you can disbarred. Tell me the answers to every single one of these fours, including my prosecutors of silence. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been an innocent man my whole life. Information about the grand jury can be by District Attorney Sandra, Doorley, 2 target, Christopher Chichester. That is 1. The month and the grand jury is convened. 2. The assigned District Attorney's Office employee that addressed the grand jury. 3. The witnesses that testified to the information at that revolting shack District Attorney's Office. You have it. Michelle Crowley, Sandra Doorley has it. Perry Douglas has it. Mark Monahan has it. When I say has it, you can be located. I don't want to sound like I'm in East Germany in 1985 when I use the phrase files. But there are files in every District Attorney's Office. And in the files of your revolting shack District Attorney's Office is this information for me. You refuse to provide it to me because you're corrupt. Richard J. Seidman, this is the frightening way a citizen can be delivered to jail so easily. 2 people are going to send me to jail. How's that happen in state of New York? If I was asked in elementary school, can 2 people send you to jail? I would have said to my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Gail Riley, no. I would have known when I was 9 years old that a jury sends a citizen to jail. 2 people, Richard J. Seidman and Paul C. Messer, will deliver me to Livingston County Jail in Geneseo. When I leave my residence on this day for this 4L, when I'm walking to the Penfield Public Library, this is why he's a psychopath, you Benito Mussolini skinhead Todd Baxter. And since you're in the embrace of psychopaths and you're a psychopath, it does not matter to you, Todd Baxter, that Richard J. Seidman's waiting outside my residence looking at my front door. So this is my question. I'll write this down. I understand if you don't watch me. Todd Baxter, 2 things are possible here. You sent Richard J. Seidman to my residence. He's waiting for me, which confirms and validates the fact that you're a psychopath and you know he's waiting out there for me. Or you don't know he's waiting because you can't know, given the size of your sheriff's office, what every single one of you hacks and fanatics is doing. He could be doing this himself and you have no idea. It's again the power of these badge-wearing, gun-toting freaks at the sheriff's office. You could not know. And when I write this down, Todd Baxter, when I say to you, tell me if you knew, if you sent him to where I live, or you didn't know. Because either way, it is a freak show for you. Todd Baxter, Richard J. Seidman's watching my front door. This is the last time I'm going to exit 26 Sanders Farm Drive where I moved in 2012, my then girlfriend, Laura Riley, when we lived in Webster, when she's hired at the Penfield Public Library. And I don't know that Penfield Town Court is at the end of the hall to the entrance, despite my girlfriend that I live with is going to work at the Penfield Public Library. Because there's no reason ever for me to be in court. Richard J. Seidman walked into the Penfield Public Library. I stood up at the computer. He ran at me, launched himself at me. It's the force of Seidman's arm hitting me in the head. That's a violent attack. I fell backwards and my head hit the surrounding tile of the library floor. Seidman puts the handcuffs on me. Frogs marks me out the library, and there's Paul C. Messer waiting for me. Pay attention, you act sociopaths, at the district attorney's office. There's no one from the district attorney's office there. And that's when I meet my public defender. So the public defender's office, Julie Siaka, Mark Phillips, and Gina Harper knows I'm supposed to be in this court, this revolting little room that Paul C. Messer convenes, but the district attorney's office is not notified. How is this constitutional? I don't believe it is. I will not state something that's facts and circumstances I believe is unconstitutional because I could be incorrect. There are things that are constitutional, like a bench trial, that are insane. It's insane for one person to determine guilt or innocence anywhere in the state of New York. I believe Paul C. Metzer convenes Penfield Town Court without any notification to the district attorney's office. She is one person that sent me to Livingston County Jail, Geneseo. Why did you pick Livingston County Jail, Paul C. Metzer? Because I cannot be in Monroe County Jail, given what I did to the sheriff's office and reading their salaries. So, I had in my pocket, when Richard J. Sieben violently attacked me, when I write the criminal complaint, assault complaint about me, when we fire, I won't be arrested, I'll be 1 day in jail for him. I had this money in my pocket, $61.39. $75,904. Richard J. Sieben attacking me and stalking me. Send this money back to me, Christopher.Chichester@mail.com. The address is on the foil. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, 14604. Freedom of Information Law. The issuance of a new check to Christopher Chichester, address below for expired check, the amount of $61.39 from the county Monroe office of sheriff and May fund account, because that's the dollar amount in the pocket of Chichester when he was violently attacked at Penfield Public Library by $75,904. Richard J. C. the Monroe County Sheriff's Office. This is why you're freaks. Sworn officer law, common thug, and criminal. Richard J. C., who I saw on Penfield Road when you arrested me for double jeopardy. I'll be back on here in the next week, hopefully in the next 3 days. I don't know when, given my time. I'm going to put on YouTube, and the title and email when I send it to you is going to say double jeopardy on Penfield Road, Sheriff Todd Baxter, because of Michael Houlihan. I'm New York's 5-day double jeopardy inmate because of $73,000 Michael Houlihan and $85,000 Don Benedetto hiding on the private property of my neighbor. Freedom of Information Law, documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, John Pilametzer, Jr., Penfield Town Court. What's the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The freak is right here, because this is the payroll for the district attorney's office. You Perry Dogs and Mark Monahan, the district attorney's office, know the name of the freak. You public defender Julie Siaka, assistant public defender Mark Phillips, assistant public defender Regina Harper, know the name of the freak. Tell me the name of the freak, and you will refuse. Is that Julie Hahn, or is that not Julie Hahn? Was on Monroe County Court, she's not the victim. 17% of the vote, I think it was. That's an abomination. She's not the victor. 1 out of 5 voters supports Julie Hahn. Is she my prosecutor or not? Tell me. If it's not Julie Hahn, you can tell me. For your information, documentation for the case for Christopher Chichester, Paul C. Metzer, Penfield Town Court. What is the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley? The freak is right here, because this is the payroll for the district attorney's office. You Perry Douglas and Mark Monahan in the district attorney's office know the name of the freak. You public defender Julie Siaka, assistant public defender Mark Phillips, assistant public defender Regina Harper, know the name of the freak. I know what they look like. This is the 5'2", 3-piece boy, and you, Regina Harper, said to me the prosecutor's not backing down. Tell me the name of this freak that you, Regina Harper, said is not backing down, who sends me to Livingston County Jail. Freedom of Information Law. Documentation for the case of Christopher Chichester, Renzi, New York State Supreme Court warrants the name of the prosecutor, Sandra Doorley. The freak is right here. Tell me the name of this freak. When I was before Alex Renzi, I'm at my temporary residence, 70 Liberty Pole Way. You know what that is in Rochester, New York? Because I was evicted. I'm here. Robert J. Valente of the United States Department of Veterans Affairs is helping me with his heart of gold. So, I'm getting ready to move back to Albany. I will be in Albany, New York right now if this freak right here didn't force me into Alex Renzi. Who is it? Tell me who it is. Do you understand me? You would have the same level of anger as I do. If all the facts and circumstances were the same. Tell me the name of that freak prosecutor before Alex Renzi. When I'm standing behind him, I look behind me and there were 2 females. I do not know if they're court employees or if they're district attorney's office employees. Every time I make an appearance in court, it has an assigned prosecutor, and tell me who it is. Mark Monahan, Barry Douglas, Julie Siaka, Mark Phillips, Regina Harper. You refuse because you're corrupt. So, when I was in Penfield Town Court for one of my appearances, Paul C. Metzer asked me a question. I only had told my mother and father. Regina Harper knows because she's the public defender. My former employers, United States Senate, United States House of Representatives, passed the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, commonly called HIPAA, to properly protect healthcare records. I've said this to you now repeatedly, Todd Baxter. You gave my healthcare records to Policy Metzer because Policy Metzer stated where I was on Elmwood Avenue. And I was released by Dr. Jeremy Smith, who said to me, you shouldn't be here. And when you ask the sociopaths wanting to get to my head or anybody's head about the mental health of someone, this is what you need to think about, because I never do this, or I try not to do this, because I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychiatric professional. But this is what these judges do. And assistant district attorneys, the sheriff office employees. I don't know the exact language, but this is going to be the thought. It's going to be he's mentally ill or something like that. It's extremely dangerous for someone who's not a doctor, like a sheriff office employee, an assistant district attorney, a judge, to parade themselves as doctors. Dr. Jeremy Smith at this place, where I'm in there with a man named John, who would say to me we're in a concentration camp. We're in there with a man named Victor, who drools on himself. Or I'm in there with elderly women walking around in nightgowns. Dr. Jeremy Smith says shouldn't be here, I'll write the order. Paul C. Metzer knows where I was because you, Todd Baxter, told her in violation of federal law. What's going to be a lie? I've said this now repeatedly because I've held this up. It's the fourth time now I've held this up in June. I've said this too, without stating the name of this place that has a 3-letter acronym. You can figure it out. Todd Baxter, you gave my healthcare records to Paul C. Metzer in Pembroke Town Court. Freedom of Information, a copy of the private healthcare records delivered to $28,000 Pembroke Town Court Judge Paul C. Metzer by Sheriff Todd Baxter of Monroe County in violation of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. There could be a violation of a statute of law, as I understand it, without being a federal crime. I don't know if this is a federal crime. What are you doing, you bald-headed Benito Mussolini psychopath Todd Baxter? You want to humiliate me. That's what you're doing. There's nothing wrong with you. You shouldn't be here. Before I say lunatic fringe, I'm going to point to the lunatic fringe with the official finger of Brooklyn, New York. Elliot Roth works at this business called Consumer Insights at 2025 Pembroke. How many times do I have to say this? You all need a private citizen, ignore me and blow me off. This is the way it is. Todd Baxter's not. Todd Baxter for $132,000, duly elected sheriff of Monroe County. This is private technology using on me at this business called Consumer Insights at 2025 Pembroke. Elliot Roth's the president. Joe Biden to fix it for me. I've been on this. The public defender sent me the images. The insane level of your corruption will command silence. You will be silenced. That's why this is called silence. I'm not hearing anything from you. Even though I've been on this over and over and over. I believe if the United States Attorney for Western District, this photograph is in her office, Trinity Ross, asks you, what are you doing to the citizen? Are you buying cameras called surveillance devices for him? Or are you using private technology? This photograph is in the office of the United States Attorney for Western District of New York, Trinity E. Ross, the distinguished Miss Ross. How is this answered? Tell me the answers, you revolting hack and psychopath, Todd Baxter. The cost of this surveillance device purchased with taxpayer dollars by Monroe County Sheriff Todd Baxter and fixed to a building in 2025 Pembroke Road to monitor for charges 26 Sandra Farm Drive. Walks through the parking lot next to the building. And that's the lunatic fringe. This is it right here. I showed you the camera. This is the parking lot. I used to live right here. This is how you could got criminal attempt second for me. You told Steve Desmond Shannonmeyer, pardon me, of the sheriff's office, Todd Baxter, then $60,000 freak, to ride his tractor by this grass here. If he comes out of the house, we're going to arrest him. Me. This is what Shannonmeyer is doing. She's telling 5 out of the sheriff's office employees she wants to arrest me for walking through his parking lot. She tells Steve Desmond, Brock Coltrane, and Long Kid to ride his tractor by this grass here. If I come outside, we're going to arrest him. I come outside, stand right here. I see nobody owns the land, walk by, come arrest us. Todd Baxter, you know that that's not a crime? You not only didn't fire this freak, you gave her a $16,000 raise. Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Property Tax Service, can't confirm anybody owns this land right here. Does that matter to you, Todd Baxter, when I say that? When I say to you, nobody owns that land. Do you own a home, Todd Baxter, Sandra Doorley? Because your realtor is going to provide you with a document that's going to prove you own the land that your house is on. Are you familiar with how home ownership works in the United States of America? with documentation. When I bought my house in the Albany, New York suburb of Guilderland, when I was 32 years old in 1997, my realtor Gloria gave me a document with a notarization or a seal or something. Prove out on the land. That's all right. This is nothing. Layla Kumar shot. And they were shot. It's a 50-year-old man who's 70 mother sent me this here. This is nothing. Repeat this for it. This is not documentation that proves land ownership. Timothy Murphy, the Monroe County Office of Real Property Tax Service, can't confirm it. That this land right here has ownership. Even if this land does have ownership, Todd Baxter, it's not a criminal attempt second to walk outside, stand here, say nobody owns the land, and walk through my rights. Right up here, you see two of my neighbors right here. There's two of my neighbors. Can you see these neighbors right here? So Todd Baxter, I just showed you two of my neighbors walked through the park 4,000 times. I've walked that park lot. That's why people hate the police. So this is the first sentence of this lie, the fiction and fantasy in your head. Your cop freak Shannon Myers paid $67,000. On the above date, approximately 1440 HRS, sick. I responded to the above location report of mail trespassing. I was sentenced again without the grammatical correction. On the above date, approximately 1440 hours, I responded to the above date report of mail trespassing. Todd Baxter. One, it's not trespassing on Walter's parking lot. You will have to say it is, because you're not going to disavow your cop freak, Shannon Meyer. There's two of my neighbors right here. All day long, being at 7 a.m., people walk through this parking lot until midnight. The reason why you will not arrest Nayraj Shah or Layla Kumar Shah both when I write the criminal complaint about false reporting an incident is they're minorities. And you're in fear of being called a racist by these two. They are insulated and protected because their names are Nayraj Shah and Layla Kumar Shah. That's why. That's why these two freaks won't be arrested. It's not a crime to walk through that parking lot. That's false reporting an incident. This attorney, he is an attorney, pardon me. Nayraj Shah. I will seek his disbarment just like I'll seek the disbarment of all my prosecutors once I know their names. I will eventually acquire their names. That's the thing that's sick and disgusting. I will get these names and acquire these names. Please continue to refuse. Because then I can be on here reminding you of your corruption and your fanaticism and your silence or refusing to disclose names for prosecutors in a public proceeding. This is sexual harassment. The Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office. I'm not going to explain what it is because I'm already at 27 minutes in the interest of time. I have to get on my day on this Sunday because I have a life and I'm trying to move away from here. If I do not move away from here, I'll be in jail again. It's that simple. For any information, tell me if there's sexual harassment at the Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office. Cost of taxpayers monitoring the Sheriff Todd Baxter expended taxpayers' dollars to settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits filed failure to comply with Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964. Title VII of the most important law of the 20th century governs sexual harassment. Freedom of information law. Cost of taxpayers, District Attorney Sandra expended taxpayer dollars settle employment-related discrimination lawsuits failure to comply with Title VII Civil Rights Act of 1964. You know who can tell me the answer about sexual harassment at the District Attorney's Office? Because here's the payroll here. Here is on the District Attorney's Office payroll, Sarah Van Strydak, who's paid $131,416, just about the same salary as duly elected Todd Baxter, Sarah Van Strydak. Sarah Van Strydak, if you're asked, is there sexual harassment at the District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley, you understand that term. What's your answer? Your answer is silence. You're all corrupted at the District Attorney's Office, every single one of you. Not one of you has ethics, character, morality, virtue, none. Todd Baxter, on the payroll for the Sheriff's Office. Here's the payroll. How many of these employees receive overtime? Every single one. There's no doubt about that. Every single one of these employees, including Shannon Meyer here. Shannon Meyer here at $83,291, 42 cents. Michael Houlihan, perjurer, $73,031.12. Richard Seatman on the previous page. Every single one of these employees receives overtime because you're fleecing taxpayers. When I contact Thomas P. DiNapoli, the controller of the state of New York in Albany, I'll tell him he refused to answer. Total cost of overtime, time and a half, I'll pay beyond a base house calculated tomorrow from the Sheriff's Office, Todd Baxter. So, NUW salary at the District Attorney's Office. We'll go to the second page of the payroll here. On the second page of the payroll, first name Lisa Gray, who is the counsel to the District Attorney, $117,000. Can you, Lisa Gray, be paid more money than Sandra Doorley, time and a half for overtime? Freedom of information law. The cost of overtime, time and a half, I'll pay on base hours calculated tomorrow, County District Attorney's Office, Sandra Doorley. So Lisa Gray, salary at $117,000. Sandra always paid $210,000. Can you double your salary and be paid $234,000? Counsel to the district attorney, Lisa Gray, with time and a half and overtime, and your boss, Sandra Doorley, refused to answer and exists in total silence because she's corrupt. Lisa Gray, we're going to exile prosecutors. Lunatic fringe Todd Baxter taking pictures of your employees underwater in a pool. Again, when I send this to Thomas B. Napoli, I'm confident that he'll think, what is this sheriff doing in Monroe County with taxpayer dollars, and what's he doing to taxpayers? The cost for photography session, photograph 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater pool approved by Todd Baxter. I don't care if it's a private event. I asked you the 1984 where you exist, Todd Baxter. I'm telling you to tell me this is tax dollars, and you tell me it's a private event. It could be private event and tax dollars. There you are right here. These are your employees. The cost to taxpayers to photograph 10 Monroe County Sheriff Office employees underwater in a pool. You got the flag back here. This has to be set up by a photographer. Did you pay taxpayer dollars? I don't care if it's a private event. Did you pay taxpayer dollars to fix this flag? Did you pay taxpayer dollars to rent this pool? Is this equipment here the sheriff's office equipment? Did you have a dive team for Lake Ontario? What's the answers? And your answer is silence. Julie Sianco, what are you paid? What did Mark Phillips paid? What did Regina Harper pay? Did you fire that assistant district attorney that had some type of conflict, violent confrontation situation at a court in Monroe County? I'm saying that in a general way, but you know what I'm talking about. Something happened with an assistant public defender. When there was a confrontation, public scene, because it was in the media, because I read about it. Was that public defender fired or not? Do you know what an Article 15 is, Julie Sianca? That's the Uniform Code of Military Justice that soldiers are disciplined, which I have been in, and in a courts martial. What's your disciplinary process? I know the answers. You don't have one. I've been demanding some Todd Baxter with Sandra Doorley, too. Sandra Doorley, it's one thing if the suit wearing psychopaths are psychopaths. It's quite a different thing when Todd Baxter, as a veteran, allows his uniformed officers with a badge and holster weapon to act like psychopaths, and he doesn't have a disciplinary process. So, Todd Baxter, answer me about discipline, such as, was there a disciplinary process for Brandy Gadis before you fired him when he's robbing a gas station on Ladder Road? You know that answer. When I write this down to you, and I say to you, was he being counseled, Brandy Gadis? Was anything going on with him that you knew about? Because there are employees that can be brought to your attention because of their behavior. Did you know anything about Brandy Gadis prior to him robbing, I believe it was a gas station on Ladder Road, or not? Your answer is silence because you're corrupt. Freedom of Information Law, names, salaries, very public employee at the Monroe County Public Defender's Office, Judy Sianca. Tell me the answer. Penftown Court, where there is no jury box for a jury of 12, where there isn't a table for a prosecutor to sit, or isn't a table for a defense attorney to defend to sit, where there's not even a witness box for testimony. All it is Paul C. Metzger, James Foley Jr., John P. Menzer Jr. before Paul C. Metzger, sitting there by themselves determining guilt or innocence. I believe both of them are right around the age of 70. John P. Menzer Jr. certainly was 70. How do you allow yourself? What do you think when you're in front of these two revolting, sick degenerates, Paul C. Metzger and James Foley Jr., you got to convince one person of guilt and innocence, given your education and experience at the district attorney's office? When you're groveling in front of Paul C. Metzger and James Foley Jr., John P. Menzer Jr., prior to Paul C. Metzger? Do you think that there's something radically wrong with the state of justice when you're in front of one judge trying to convince this judge that you're correct about the law? These are the last two. And all the citizens of Monroe County, Paul C. Metzger and James Foley Jr. should be deciding guilt or innocence. So how many employees do you have in Penftown Court? The names and salaries for a public employee in Penftown Court, 195 Bed Road, Penftown, New York. I go there. The Penftown Court, I'm demanding defective documents in the case of Daniel Louse III, who acts so certainly know who he is. I drop off information. I want to see these defective documents because it was a Democrat and Chronicle story about John P. Lomenzo Jr. releasing Daniel Louse III. Lomenzo refuses. I go for my run. I come back. John P. Lomenzo Jr. called Lindsey Barron, the Monroe County Office of Mental Health, after I went to Penftown Court with a Freedom of Information Law demanding the defective documents in the case of Daniel Louse III. This is the insane state of the minds of these hacks and sociopaths and deviants at Penn Court. I'm demanding to look at documentation for an accused child rapist. He refuses. He has this documentation, and then he's calling Renzi the Baron and the Monroe County Office of Mental Health upon me, humiliate me. Think about that, perhaps, the next time you go to Penn Court. So, Alex Renzi said it's finished and done. That's not true. This would be a public record of me saying that's not true. All it takes is the fiction, the fantasy in your heads at district attorney's office to write some ludicrous warrant, be filed, tracked, installed, brought to him, brought to someone else. I'll be declared guilty or I have no due process. You smash me into a million little pieces. I'll be jailed for the seventh time without one of you hacks, sociopaths, and ciphers talking at the district attorney's office. I'm demanding salaries for everyone for him. There are 18 over at the hackocracy 19 Exchange, United Exchange. Freedom of information on name, salaries of a public employee in New York State Supreme Court under supervised Judge Alex Renzi, 99 Exchange Boulevard, Rochester, New York. You're finished and done. Good luck. He said good luck. I don't know if he said you're finished and done, but what he's communicating to me is you're finished and done. That's not true. You know what? You returned me to jail. You just used Pretrial Services Corporation on me. I had to call Jamie Belly on a Pretrial Services Corporation. Pay attention. In 1984, what you think is justice in Monroe County. You hacks, sociopaths, deviants, and ciphers at the district attorney's office. Pre-trial service corporation. If I don't make a phone call or an appearance to see Jamie Bellier, I could be returned to jail. I don't have trial scheduled. So why am I calling Pre-Trial Services Corporation under the threat of being returned to jail? Lunatic French. Sending Ryan Fisher to Atlanta, Georgia, Todd Baxter. Again, when I contact Thomas P. DiNapoli, I'll tell him you're refusing to answer. I think you sent me something about this. It's not full disclosure, though. Cost for hotel and plane ticket from Monroe County Sheriff's Office employee Ryan Fisher attended Super Bowl in Atlanta, Georgia on February 3rd, 2019. Here he is right here. I'm going to the media about this guy. Violence crashing down in Monroe County. Here he is right here with his dog, this beautiful dog. He bought him a Monroe County Sheriff badge. I like that. Monroe County Deputy K9 ready to deploy, attack, and serve a Super Bowl. You should have said, you're not going there. You're staying in Monroe County. You're a Monroe County resident. It's Animal House at the Sheriff's Office. Ryan Fisher, Atlanta, Georgia, is Animal House. You're tweeting about it. You don't even know how to be corrupt, Todd Baxter. When you're going to be corrupt, don't go to Elon Musk's Twitter. As we get about Super Bowl, we're grateful for men and women signed to keep fans players safe in Atlanta, including MCSO Deputy Ryan Fisher and K9 Low. Deputy Fisher sends a photo from Atlanta. Thank you both for your service. Again, your silence. I'm going to write down how he arrived in Atlanta, Georgia. What happened? I don't know. You do. Is there some type of contingent, if that's the word, from New York that went to the Super Bowl? Did the New York State Sheriff's Association go down to the Sheriff's Association event? Your lobbying group in Albany, or some type of lobbying group organization you're connected to, and they sent Ryan Fisher to Atlanta, Georgia. Just taxpayer dollars, or it's the private group. But he's in uniform. You should know Todd Baxter is a veteran. When you're in uniform and you're away from your post, your station, your division, your battalion, you're always in the military. You're in civilian clothes, you're always in the military. He is in his uniform in Atlanta, Georgia. Having a good time. I used to see the stars and bars in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Clarksville, Tennessee when I was in 101st Airborne Division. 41A connects Clarksville and Hopkinsville. And I would say to my roommate, Anthony O'Neill, we were on bunk beds together in the barracks, who was from Los Angeles, California. Words to the effect, I really don't get that, I don't understand that. He didn't get it either. In Atlanta, Georgia, this stars and bars I used to see in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Clarksville, Tennessee was not changed until 2003. And there he is at Stars and Bars, Georgia, your employee. How do you acquire your weapons? Todd Baxter, pay attention. Your weapons are not manufactured for you at 130 South Plymouth Avenue. You don't manufacture your own weapons. You have a contractor. Who is it? Please don't answer. Please exist in that stone cold silence. Because when I contact Thomas B. DiNapoli, I'll say this is the fourth time in the month of June I've demanded some demand is now repeatedly from him. There's corruption in contracting. And since you're corrupt, Todd Baxter, I'm reasonably confident this could be a corrupt contract. But Thomas B. DiNapoli will be able to decide that with absolute certainty. Todd Baxter, send me the contract for your weapons. Christopher.chichester@mail.com. 620 Park Avenue, PMB number 361, Rochester, 14604, Freedom of Information Law. Contract signed by Sheriff Todd Baxter to purchase firearms from Monroe County Sheriff Office employees to include 1, the name of the firearms contractor, 2, the number of firearms purchased, 3, the total amount of taxpayer dollars expended to purchase firearms. So, on this June 18th, you have the Freedom of Information Law communicated to you that I wrote on June 17th. This is a picture of a couch I had in a loft next to the transit center where I lived there for 4 months. Over and over and over. What I demanded from you just now using the foil is on this couch where I think there could be 2,000 documents on here. All throughout calendar year 2023. In the foil, I'm telling you to disclose names on prosecutors, you're refusing every time. I will not be able to adopt a dog from Island Pop Farm Humane Society if I go back to Island Pop because I've been in jail 6 times. I'm not passed the background check. You can't tell my residents to demand my dog Todd Baxter. I'm not going to go into this. This is really exhausting. I have to talk about this. This is why people hate the police. One phone call from this Negron shot, this 50-year-old man with his 70-year-old mother, and then you're demanding my dog. I sit at my front door. They'll have to kill me to take my little guy from me. So Perry Duckles at the Monroe County District Attorney's Office.
Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles of Monroe County. My name is Christopher Chichester. I live in Rochester, New York. I have been in jail 6 times, and 6 times in court. What are the names of my prosecutors, Perry Duckles? I contacted you on January 1, 2023, and demanded of you in writing that you disclose the names of my prosecutors of silence. Why did you refuse, Perry Duckles? The answer is that you're corrupt. Everything I'm going to say here to you, I've said to Julie Siak of the Monroe County Public Defender's Office. This is why the Monroe County Public Defender's Office is corrupt. They'll refuse to disclose the names of my prosecutors as well. Mark Phillips of the Public Defender's Office, Regina Harper, Public Defender's Office, sent my mail back to me and refused to open it because each knows I'm demanding of them what I'm demanding of you right now, Perry Duckles. How is any citizen in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court? My 50th birthday, July 4, 2015, I have a speeding ticket in my place of employment in Albany, New York, a speeding ticket in my place of employment in Washington, D.C., and both was dismissed when I went to court. Does life matter, Perry Duckles? I have always known the difference between legal and illegal, right and wrong. Every single criminal charge for me is a fiction, is a lie, is the fantasy land of the heads of these corrupt cops employed by Todd Baxter, and he's the corrupt cop in Monroe County. That's why a prosecutor doesn't talk in court, Perry Duckles, because a prosecutor can't make an argument for fiction and lies that have destroyed life. Perry Duckles, what are the names of my prosecutors of silence? You'll refuse. Julie Siaka, the Public Defender's Office, will refuse. That's insane. How is any citizen in jail when a prosecutor doesn't talk in court, and that's why your boss, Sandra Doorley, doesn't know she's a Democrat or Republican, had to form a conviction integrity unit, and what does this contraption do, Perry Duckles? How do you look at documentation that is in your office, in your name, that I sent to the Federal Express, or registered mail return receipt, UPS, to you, to your fellow assistant district attorneys? How do you look at the Freedom of Information law where it says to identify my process of silence and then refuse just because you're corrupt and unethical? How does your boss, Sandra Doorley, look right at that foil, Freedom of Information law, and refuse to disclose the names of my prosecutors? Because she's corrupt and because she's unethical. Perry Duckles, Christopher.Chichester@mail.com. Mail the names of my prosecutors of silence to that mail.com address, and you will refuse, Deputy District Attorney Perry Duckles, because you're corrupt and unethical.
That's exactly right. It's easy to predict corruption and unethical behavior. You just ignore it, even though it's in your office. I understand if I'm not watched, if I sent you a link, that documentation falls in your office. Just like I said, your boss looks right at it, refuses to tell me the names of my prosecutors. What's justice about? Employees of Sheriff's Office, District Attorney's Office, Penn Town Court, New York State Supreme Court, Public Defender's Office. Justice about money. If I had money, I wouldn't spend one goddamn day in jail. Every now and again, you get to be part of justice being done. And that's really quite a thrill when that happens. Tom Hanks in Philadelphia. I'm trying to be part of justice being done. My name is Christopher Chichester. I've been an innocent man my whole life.